laid in my heart as I was going through the book of Mark and just kind of searching for what the sermon was going to be. And this is what he laid on my heart. So you've probably heard this story, but I'm going to read it from Mark 2. It says, "And when Jesus returned to Capernaum after some days, it was reported that he was at home." Fun little fact there, Jesus had a home. Okay, he had a house. There was a place he stayed every night. You know, there's a passage where he says that the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. But the reality was he traveled a lot, but he did have a home. And many were gathered together so that there was no more room, not even at the door at his house. And he was preaching the word to them. And they came bringing to him a paralytic, somebody that's paralyzed, carried by 4 men. And when they could not get near him because of the crowd, they removed the roof above him, and when they had made an opening, they let down the bed on which the paralytic lay. And when Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Son, your sins are forgiven." Now some of the scribes were sitting there questioning in their hearts, "Why does this man speak like that? He is blaspheming. Who can forgive sins but God alone?" And immediately Jesus, perceiving in his spirit that they thus questioned within themselves, said to him, "Why do you question these things in your hearts? Which is easier to say to the paralytic, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Rise, take up your bed and walk'? But that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins." He said to the paralytic, "I say to you, rise, pick up your bed, and go home." And the paralytic rose immediately, picked up his bed, and went out before them all, so that they were all amazed and glorified God, saying, "We have never seen anything like this." Now the story is pretty simple. Like I said, one dude, he's paralyzed. We're not really sure why. It doesn't say how long he's been paralyzed, but he's paralyzed. Okay, he can't walk. He can't move on his own. So 4 men decide to carry him to Jesus. Okay, they're having trouble getting in. Here's the 2 problems I want to talk to you about tonight for the paralytic. There are 2 problems for this paralyzed man. Okay, the first problem, pretty obvious, right? He's crippled. This man cannot move on his own. He needs healing, but he cannot take himself to the healer. Right? He needs to have a restoration of body, but he cannot physically take himself to the person who can restore. And so he has that problem. He is in need of a friend to carry him to the healer. 4 men answer the call to pick up their friend and carry him to Jesus. 4 men recognize that their friend needs healing and that he needs a friend who will carry him. 4 people recognize this man can't get to Jesus on his own, so we're going to have to do what we can to get him there. Because we want him to be healed, and he wants to be healed, but he cannot go there himself. So we will take him. The first problem was that he was crippled. He needed a friend. And here's the thing. All of us in this room have friends that need healing or salvation, but they are too crippled in their unbelief. They are so paralyzed in their ungodliness that they can't come to the cross themselves. They are too smitten by the ways of the world. They are too ungodly. They are too unrighteous. They are too in league with the world or the devil, so to speak, that they cannot take themselves to the cross. They need somebody to take them. They need somebody to show them. There are hundreds of people we walk by every day that are walking physically, but they are crippled spiritually. They cannot make it to the cross on their own power. Nobody could. At one point, you were crippled spiritually. You could not find salvation on your own. At one point, you were broken and paralyzed in the spirit in such a way that you could not, on your own ability, come to salvation and enter into heaven. You needed someone like Jesus, but you also needed somebody to carry you to him. Our faith cannot save those people we say every day. It's not our faith. If somebody came in here and I prayed a prayer and said, "God, I just believe for this man's salvation," it's not going to automatically be bestowed on him. It's the faith of that person, right? That person has to have faith in Jesus themselves to be saved. So our faith cannot save them, but our faith can lead them to the one they can have faith in. We cannot carry their burdens. We can't carry their pain, but we can carry them to the one who can. See, there's a lot of people out there dealing with problems that you would never imagine. And even if you found out what their problem was, it does not mean you'd be able to carry that problem for them. Some people have divorced parents. You can't carry that problem for them. You can't fix things for them in that way. Some people are hooked on drugs. You can't carry that problem. You want to carry that problem? Get on drugs yourself. That's how you carry it. But then you're not even helping them in any way, right? You can't carry the problems of other people. You can't necessarily carry their burdens. People that are alcoholic, people that are hooked on sex and all these different things, you cannot carry that problem for them. You can't carry that struggle. You can't take it upon yourself and say, "God, I want this instead of them. I want this problem instead of that person." No, you can't do that, but you can carry them to the one who can. See, I preached it back in June, I think, or July. The first thing, in John chapter 1, you read a story. Jesus meets Andrew, who is Simon Peter's brother. And the first thing that Andrew does when he meets Jesus is he goes and tells someone else. He goes and tells Peter, Peter, we have found the Christ. We have found the Son of the living God. We have found the guy they've been talking about, the Messiah that's to come and save the world. We have found him. See, Andrew recognized something we should all recognize here tonight, is that many of us, sometimes we take steps with Jesus before we lead anybody to him. But Andrew understood that he would not go further with Jesus until he told somebody else and had somebody along on the journey. Andrew recognized that he had to go and find someone else to take on this journey with him. He was too excited at who Jesus was that he couldn't even go on this journey himself. He could not follow Jesus in that moment. He had to find his brother. He had to find someone else to tell. See, we've lost that art. We've lost that inspiration when we become saved or when we have an experience with Jesus to go and tell somebody else what he's done in our life. But Andrew recognized the importance of doing that very thing. See, he recognized the importance of going and bringing Peter to Jesus. He recognized the purpose and the power in going and bringing Peter, carrying Peter, so to speak, to the one who could carry him. That's the first problem. The man's crippled. He needs a friend. He needs somebody to carry him. We all need somebody to carry us at times. Maybe we have in the past. Maybe you need to carry somebody. The second problem for the crippled man, see, that was just the first problem. That was just the first impediment to the things that God had for him. That was just the first block in the road, was that he was crippled. The second problem, the second block in the road for the crippled man is that when his friends do carry him to the place that Jesus was, there was no obvious entrance. There was no way in. The crowds were packed into his house. I can't imagine his house being much bigger than this room. I don't know. But imagine just crowds of people, hundreds of people packed into a home. There's no entrance through the door or the windows because they're all blocked in by people. And yet they need to get this paralytic, they need to get this man that's crippled and paralyzed into Jesus where he can be healed. They needed a way in, but every obvious normal way was blocked. Every normal way into Jesus and into his home was blocked. So what did the friends do? As you heard, as I read earlier, they made a way. The friends made a way to get to Jesus. Now we all know Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, but that's for salvation, that's for healing. They made a way to get to Jesus. When there is no way into Jesus, we have to make a way. See, some of you here tonight are going to be challenged to carry one of your friends to the foot of the cross, but when you get there, there's going to be a block in the road. There's going to be something stopping you. Maybe it's their own behavior. Maybe it's other things crowding out the possibility of getting near to Jesus, but you're going to have to learn to make a way. See, these guys thought smart. They thought intuitive. I don't know how houses were built back then, but evidently you could tear the roof in pretty easily. You want to try that on a house nowadays? It's not going to happen. You're going to have to find a different way. But they were creative and unconventional in the way that they decided to get to Jesus. They chose a different route than the normal one. See, once you start on the road with Jesus, if you change routes, it's not going to lead you to heaven. But the road to Jesus is different for everybody. The road to Jesus is different for every person in this room. Some people had to go through certain things and it led you right to the Lord. Some people dived into sin and it led you right to the Lord. Should you have committed those things? No, but God met you where you were at. See, some of us are, all of us are on different roads to Jesus. Once you get on the road with Jesus, there's no turning back. There's no following another path, but the road to Him is different for all of us. All of us go through different things. All of us have maybe different things blocking our way to Jesus and who He is and what He can do for us. The friends chose an unconventional way. They dug a hole in the roof, on the roof. Anything to get their friend to Jesus. Like I said, I don't know how houses were built back then, but I have to assume and believe that it wasn't an easy task to just tear the roof in and lower their friend down. That was probably not a simple task. That was probably not something easy to do, regardless of how much easier it is back then than it is now. Sometimes we have to choose unconventional routes to get the gospel to people, or rather to get people to the gospel. Sometimes we get this phraseology maybe that we say, take Jesus to him. And I get that phraseology. I'm not saying it's bad theology, but maybe it'd be better if we said, let's take him to Jesus. Let's take her to Jesus. Because that's what the paralytic's friends did for him. They took him to Jesus. That's what Andrew did for Peter. He didn't say, Jesus, come with me. He recognized Jesus had his own journey and Jesus was going to do what Jesus was going to do. He said, I'm going to go and bring him to you. See, some of us are too busy trying to take Jesus to people that we forget to bring them to him. And that's where we miss it. We forget to take unconventional routes. See, if all those friends had said, Jesus, come on out, there's crowds in the way. Jesus probably couldn't have gotten out those doors, so the friends said, we're going to take you to Jesus in this unconventional way. See, here's an example, a real-world example nowadays of what an unconventional way that people are bringing others to the gospel and bringing others to Jesus. In Saudi Arabia, this is a story I told, I think, last year around September, I heard it. And in Saudi Arabia, what's the common language there? Well, it's Arabic, right? And so that's also a big hotspot for Muslims. Every Sunday morning, there are hundreds of Christians murdered, martyred, killed with their heads chopped off in Saudi Arabia. You don't see it on the news here, but it happens every Sunday because they are hostile towards Christians and towards those who love Jesus in that nation. So they say, be gone with them. They say, no more of you, and they kill them. Not one person has renounced their faith yet. Everyone has died, still believing in Jesus and still standing for him in Saudi Arabia. Are you ready to do that? But the reality is that in places like Saudi Arabia, where the main language is Arabic and Christianity is illegal, what some people are doing is very, very impressive to me. It's almost cunning, one could say. It's almost kind of something you don't expect from a Christian to be maybe that smart and that intuitive to get the gospel to people or to get people to the gospel. What they do in places like Saudi Arabia is they begin to teach the people they want to convert to Christianity the language of French. So they begin to teach these people another language that the Arabic people don't know, that the Muslims that hate Christians in Saudi Arabia don't understand, don't recognize, don't know. And so they begin to teach these people they're trying to convert the language of French, and then they print French Bibles and put them in the hands of those people that they're seeking to bring to Jesus. See, when the people come to their house to see if they've got a Bible, or to see if they're really a Christian, or to see if they love Jesus, they're not going to know any different because the book is written in another language. The book is written in a different way. And so the people, the Muslims, have no evidence that this person is a Christian. See, not only are they leading people to Jesus, they're saving lives, but they've chosen an unconventional route. They've dug a hole in the roof to get people to where they need to be with the Lord. They've discovered a different route. They've discovered a different way to lead people to the cross that maybe nobody thought of before. It's so amazing to me that we've got Christians out there outsmarting the enemy. Not really the enemy of God, right? Because he's a lot smarter than us. He's very cunning. He's a liar. He's a thief. But outsmarting those who would seek to kill Christians. We've got Christians. That's what Speed the Light does, right? It provides transportation. BGMC provides communication equipment like French Bibles that they can put in the hand of an Arabian and say, we're going to teach you French, and then you're going to read this book, and you're going to come to know Jesus. And they won't be able to have any evidence that you love the Lord. They won't be able to kill you because they don't know what this book says. Just how amazing and unconventional a route. See, a lot of us, if we went to a nation like that, we wouldn't know what to do. We just go tell people about Jesus. Chose an unconventional, very different way to reach the people that needed to hear who Jesus was and needed to be brought to him. They dug a hole in the roof. See, nobody ever enters a house by digging into the roof, unless maybe they're a thief and they are okay with being caught. That's not how you enter a house. It's not the easy way. It's the hard way. It's a struggle to get through a roof. No. Even thieves don't do that because they recognize how tough of a task it is. But sometimes that's the only way in you have, and so you make a way. You dig a hole in the roof. You choose an unconventional route, an unconventional way to get the gospel to people and to get people to the gospel. And because of that, someone may be healed. Someone may be saved. See, the paralytic got healed that day because his friends decided, we're going to dig a hole in the roof. See, if you read the story, I want you to go back to that story. See, it doesn't say Jesus saw the faith of the paralytic. It doesn't say he saw the faith of the crippled man. It says Jesus saw the faith. He saw their faith. He saw the faith of 4 men who are willing to say, we'll do anything to get him to Jesus because we know what Jesus can do for him. Do you realize your faith cannot save somebody, but it could be the key to their salvation? It could be the key to them having faith one day, to be saved, to be healed. Your faith could catch the eye of Jesus in such a way, the way you seek to reach people for the gospel, it could catch Jesus' eye in such a way that he says, okay. And he heals, and he saves, and he delivers, because your faith has also touched the heart of that person that you're taking to Jesus. Once again, there were two problems for the crippled man. He was crippled, he needed a friend. And the normal entrance to the presence of God was blocked. Maybe you're here tonight and you need someone to carry you. I don't know where everybody's at spiritually. I'd like to believe I could have an idea, but in all reality, how do we really know? Maybe you're here tonight and you need someone to carry you to Jesus because you can't get there yourself. Maybe you're here tonight and you're so caught up in a sin that you can't be led to the cross because you don't know how to get there. You're so blinded by what's going on in your life that you cannot make a route to the Lord that gets you there. There are people here that are your friends and they'll carry you right to Jesus. There are people here tonight that will pick you up. It may take more than one person. See, it took 4 people to get that paralytic. It took 4 people to carry that man. Sometimes it may take more than one of us to carry you or to carry a person to the cross and to who Jesus is, but it's worth it. Maybe you're here tonight and you should be carrying someone and you're not. You have to find someone to carry and ask others to join you in carrying them. See, many of us here tonight are, once again, too content to try and bring Jesus to these people instead of bringing these people to Jesus, which is what all the other people did in the gospel. They would bring their friend to Jesus. Maybe you need someone to carry tonight. Find that person. Maybe you're here tonight and you don't know how to get your friends to Jesus. Maybe that's what's been blocking you. Maybe you don't know because it seems like all the main entrances are blocked. Maybe just telling them about who Jesus is doesn't work. Maybe just trying to have a little simple philosophical argument or discussion with them doesn't do what you need it to do. Doesn't make the cut. And maybe because of that, they don't know the Lord. It's time to dig a hole in the roof. It might be your night tonight to choose an unconventional route. It might be your chance this night to say, I am going to find a way to take this person to Jesus, no matter how hard it is, no matter how tough the task is, no matter how different and strange it may be, I'm going to do whatever I can to bring this person to the feet of Jesus so they can receive healing, so they can receive salvation. See, it was the faith of those who carried him that caught Jesus' eye. And that's when forgiveness happened. And that's when healing happened. Are you ready to let your faith be the reason someone else can have some? There's a movie. I don't know who's seen it. I'm sure some of you have. I know 2 of you for a fact that have seen it. It's called Lord of the Rings. It's a it's a movie series, trilogy. I love those movies, great movies to me. There's a part in the last movie where if you don't know the concept of the movie, basically it's 3 movies about a journey. There's an evil weapon that a very pure-hearted person has to take and destroy. And the only place it can be destroyed is this volcano in a distant land, dark land. And at the end of it, they recognize he's going up this volcano, he's going up this mountain, and he loses all his energy. He loses all his hope, and he just falls down, and he cannot make it any further. But the great thing about this person seeking to destroy the weapon is he had a friend with him. He had somebody right next to him. And in that movie, the friend whose name is Sam tells him, he says, you know what, I can't carry this weapon, I can't carry this power, I can't carry this burden for you, but I can carry you. And he picks up his friend and carries him up the mountain. That's what we're called to do. That's what we're called to do for those who cannot get there themselves. If you've ever seen the movie Hacksaw Ridge, another great, amazing movie. And in that story, it's a true story of a man named Desmond Doss. He was a Seventh-day Adventist Christian who would not hold a weapon in the war. World War II. He told them, I will not hold a weapon. I just want to be an army medic. When everybody else is taking life, I'm going to be saving people's lives. And he decides, and it goes to the court. They tell him, you have to carry a weapon, you have to hold a gun, because this man was against killing. And the court system ruled that it was okay for him to run into gunfire, to run into the war with no weapon, simply to be an army medic. And everybody thought he was stupid. Everybody thought he was crazy. But as that story goes, true story, they retreat from the ridge, and yet there's hundreds of men still up on the ridge that have been blown to bits, their legs blown off, they've been shot, they've been wounded, and they're just laying up there, just waiting to die. And Desmond, he decides that the Lord's will is for him to run back into the fire and to save as many as he can. And in that story, he goes, he saves one person, and he'd come back, he'd lower him down the ropes to the people underneath the ridge, and he would say, just help me get one more. He'd pray to the Lord, just help me get one more person and save them. And according to his friends, he saved 100 people. According to him, he was more humble. He said about 50, so they agreed on. He saved about 75 men from dying, because he would carry them to safety. He didn't try and bring his medical supplies to them. I mean, he did some things with it, but it wasn't like, oh, we're just going to leave you here, and I'm going to patch you up right here and just hope you're okay. No, he said, I'm going to carry you to the place where you're safe. I'm going to carry you to the place where you can be free from this disaster. I'm going to carry you to the place where you can find healing, and that's what we're called to do as Christians. Sometimes it just means we just get one more. I'm asking you tonight, which of these three scenarios are you in? Are you the paralytic that cannot physically take himself, spiritually take yourself to Jesus, to the cross, and you need a friend? Or are you that friend that needs to pick up and carry somebody and take them to the foot of the cross, take them to the healer, take them to the Savior? Or are you those friends that need to find a new route? Maybe you've tried and maybe you've failed, but you need to find a new way to get them to Jesus. Maybe it hasn't been used before. As far as I know in recorded history, nobody had ever dug a hole in the roof at that point to get somebody to Jesus. But it happened. Somebody found a way. Maybe it's never been done before, but it's the way that you can reach somebody with the gospel. Tonight I just want us to take a few moments and reflect in prayer as to which of those three you represent. Which one? Which one is where you're at right now? If you would, go ahead and find a place. I'm going to start some soft music. And I want you all to find and discover and know